over the last 40 years, is breaking up that monopoly and allowing the private marketplace to compete in this new thing called the internet. And our whole life has been revolutionized by it. And so occasionally, government gets something a little right. Next guest here is Mark Skousen. Some of you may know him from the work that he does with Eagle Financial Publishing, with some of his forecasts and newsletters. What you probably don't know is that he's a serious economist. As a matter of fact, he's so serious that he has put together a paper on gross output, which is an alternative measure of income here in the United States. And recently, the U.S. government adopted this statistic as a way of measuring economic health here in the United States, the growth of income here in the United States. And for that work, Steve Forbes has proposed that he get a Nobel Prize. Given people who have gotten Nobel Prizes recently, I was hoping that he would maybe get something a little bit better than that, like a Starbucks gift card or something like that. Let's introduce Mark Skousen. Thanks so much.
John, and thank you very much for being on your show once a week. It's just great. Salem Communications has recently purchased Eagle Publishing, our financial newsletters, and we're just delighted to be a part of Salem. So I thought I would just mention, by the way, does anybody know the definition of obscene profits? Anybody know the definition? President Obama has given us that definition. It's something you always hear about but never experience yourself. Anyway, I'd just like to follow up with something that Steve Forbes said, and that is, many of you may know that we do a conference every year called Freedom Fest out in Las Vegas, and some of you may have attended, and Steve Forbes is our co-ambassador along with John Mackey, CEO of Whole Foods Markets, and we have a great time. We have several thousand people there, and we get together to network and to celebrate liberty and to learn new things about our country and how to turn things around and so forth. And this year, this is our 8th year that we had it this last July. Our theme was Big Brother. And for some reason, I mean, we always have politicians. We've had the Rand Paul and Ron Paul coming and several congressmen and so forth. For this year, for the very first time, we had no politicians come whatsoever. And you know what? It was really refreshing. It was really refreshing. Because for the first time at our conference, we said to ourselves, we're not going to run to Washington, even to our people that we support, like Rand and Ron Paul. We're not going to go to Washington and say, please help us to turn our country around. We decided at Freedom Fest that we were going to talk about private solutions, our own solutions to our own problems, without trying to, every week I get something about, we need to reverse Obamacare, we need to get rid of it. Send us your donation to do this. And of course it's not going to be repealed. But what was so cool about our conference was we sat down and talked about ways to work around it. When Mr. Forbes talks about how the market responds to solutions on its own, given what the government already has in place. And we had a person at Freedom Fest called Harris Rosen. None of you have ever heard of Harris Rosen. But Harris Rosen is the CEO and founder of Rosen Resorts and Hotels, which is the most successful hotel chain in Central Florida. It's more profitable than Disney World, it's more profitable than Universal. And he has 3 things going for him. He has a health care program that is unbelievable. He has clinics right in his hotels to take care of his employees. In 2008, he did not lay off a single worker. He turned a lemon into a lemonade, even though there was very low occupancy rate in his hotel. He didn't fire a single worker, didn't lay him off. He had him do other things. They basically took the time to refurbish their hotels, and he spent $200 million taking advantage of the low cost of construction workers at that time who were, begging to have work done, and he provided. Why? Because he was so profitable. And the last thing that he's done is he's created his own anti-poverty program. There is no, the anti-poverty program, the war on poverty that LBJ started has been a disaster, a total failure in this country, because the number of people on welfare has increased dramatically during this war on poverty. But Harris Rosen has created his own anti-poverty program. There's a very poor area of Orlando called Tangelo Park, where there's a very high crime rate. The number of students who graduate is a very low level, a lot of drugs and so forth. He came into this place and he says, I'll tell you what, if every student here graduates from high school, in Tangelo Park High School, I will pay their tuition if they go to school in the state of Florida. The high school graduation rate has gone from 35% to over 85%. The crime rate has declined. The drug use has declined. Why? Because he took a personal interest, and he took the bull by the horns and said, forget about waiting for the federal government or the state government to solve this problem. They're not going to solve this problem, but I am going to work as a single person. Benjamin Franklin once said something very profound. He says, it's incredible the quantity of good that a single person can do if he makes a business out of it. Doesn't that make a lot of sense? When you have a successful business, you can do a lot of good. So that's the kind of thing that we did at our conference. That's what we need in this country. Forget about the next election. Think about your own personal lives, what you can do to make a difference in your community. Thank you all very much.